Other than loot, the traditional thing that often came in L5R when loot was a no-no was allies.
This person is on your side and will help you when circumstances require it. And that can be really super powerful, especially in a social game like Legends of the Five Rings. Having someone on your side at a crucial moment can be worth a dozen magic swords.
I think that they can be offered at the end of an adventure, but especially during social play after you help someone out or win someone over to your side after an intrigue or something like that. You do want to make sure that there's the opportunity for the PCs to call on them, or at least remember that they have this ally. That's a big problem for campaigns, is you make an ally and
you forget about
it. They disappear.
Yeah. They tend to be like on the back of the character sheet and not on the front, so it's very easy to forget about them, which is a bit sad, really.
Or you never go there again.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have these great allies in Rokurawari. Pity we haven't been anything like within 400 miles of it in the last year. But if we ever do get there, then, they all love us there.
So just keep aware that an awesome ally they can never call on is not really that exciting.
Again, in a very social situation Rock Gang can be in, letter writing is a thing. And so an ally can actually be helpful by mail.
Yeah, if you ever use the influence games, you can find the influence game, which I've talked about here before, which is on the Winter Garden of the Kakita website. Allies will do things like give you recommendations to get into a winter court. So
Very
you
helpful.
Can earn influence and stuff and buy your entry into places by getting letters of recommendation, which come from allies.
Letters of introduction to important people who you need to influence, and you can't get in to even see them, but your high-ranking ally who you haven't seen because they haven't been 400 miles next to Rokurawara in the last year, but they can still write a letter and say, hey, you should give this person your time of day. And that can be a very good use of an ally.
Yep. So, make sure your players are aware of that. Players, make sure you're aware that you can use allies in that way. And they can be to a group or an individual, depending on the roleplay and the circumstances under which they were made.
There are also the ability to get techniques outside of the normal curriculum. For example, if you happen to do a particularly good favor for someone who turns out to be a Tengu in disguise, then they may be able to offer you the ability to learn a technique you wouldn't ordinarily be able to learn, either because you don't have the prerequisites, you don't normally have that in your curriculum, or in some cases because you're not that high level yet. But because they are a Tengu, maybe they can help you. And it comes in two flavors, because there's the one where this gives the PC the access to the technique. You can now spend XP on this technique, which you would not ordinarily be able to do. And that's actually pretty cool. That's just the ability to do that is quite neat. But there are circumstances where it would make sense for the trainer to just allow the PC that technique without even spending the XP, depending on the exact set of circumstances. That would probably be the higher tier version, but that is also another option.
And you could potentially put a technique in a item or something like that for that kind of thing.
Yes, that is another possibility. It might be your reward is the skill scroll, the scroll that was written down by the ancient masters of this technique, and now you can study it. Or it could be literally in an item that allows you to, while you've got the item, you can use that technique.
Those are pretty cool. Not every technique is useful to every PC. They tend to be individualistic and trained by a specific NPC or something like that. But it's always neat to get access to something you couldn't normally get. So I like that. So that's techniques. Of course, the final thing that you might want as loot is honestly a secret base. If it was a superhero campaign, it would be a secret base. Basically a homestead, a village, building, even potentially your own vassal family or minor clan that the PCs can use to make their own, that they can become a community, a family. So that's really fun when it's shared, but that depends on your group cohesion and if you can work the base together. But you get to do interior decorating,
which is always a plus. It's also a great source of adventures and just all sorts of fun things and reasons to get the player characters to do things, which is a reward in and of itself, honestly.
And I've been working on, it's almost ready to go live, but I've been working on a prosperity system for how to play an adventure and even rule over communities. So maybe in the future I'll talk about that here.
Yeah.
Once I get it spiffed up. But I think that's it. We've talked about all kinds of loot. Every kind of loot.
Every kind of loot, different types of rewards. And I think there are a whole bunch of ideas in there for everyone to use in their games and for players to start to think about, is that the sort of thing I want? And therefore, how should I go about getting it? And I think that can be a great source of character motivation.